Welcome to Mission Connect, a brand new way to connect with missionaries. Brought to you by Shalom World and Family Missions Company. I'm your host, Kevin Kuster. Today in our show, we'll be interviewing Teresa Fleming. She's originally from St. Louis, Missouri. She did missionary work in Haiti and Calcutta, and she's currently living in Big Woods, Louisiana, where she's working with Family Mission Company on their home base. Hey, Teresa, how are ya?
Hi, Kevin. Doing good.
Great to meet you. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So I'd just kind of like to ask you, what was your life like growing up as a young person? And were you raised with faith, or were you a person of faith in your youth?
Yeah, I grew up in a very Catholic home. It was very important. I think my parents definitely set that foundation and I went to Catholic grade school and high school, and yeah, I grew up in like a normal family. Yeah, I grew up going to mass every Sunday and learning about the saints and praying the rosary every Sunday as a family. So yeah.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Do you remember when you kind of really accepted, Jesus, and accepted him into your heart, and where it was like, it wasn't something that you were just doing, it was something that you personally committed to? Was there a time or a moment like that you remember?
When I was in high school, I had gone on quite a few retreats and was involved with different youth groups. And so I think that's like really when I first encountered Jesus. And like they talked about at the conference, like giving your life to Jesus. And yeah, I guess I'll share this. This is definitely a huge part of my story, is that my oldest sister passed away when I was 16, and a lot of things shifted for my family and I. And I think one of the huge things was just like, what a gift that the family that I have, and like the sister that God had given me, that had taught me so much, and also my parents who had set this foundation for our family and for our faith. But I think it was later that my relationship with God really came alive. So
during that very obviously difficult time, do you feel like that was a time where you leaned on your family and your faith more? Or, because people can go one of two ways. They can kind of pull back or lean into it. And it sounds to me like you kind of leaned into your faith and your family at that time. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was just that gratitude came up from what was happening in our lives. I don't think I did it perfectly. There was probably some ways that I leaned in and some ways that I, was coping in different ways, or was in high school and figuring out who I was. At the end of the day, I knew that there was a God who loved us dearly, even when life looked the way it did, and in our reality after she passed away.
Yeah. Each time you kind of talked about it, one of the first words you used was gratitude. And I think that was really obviously a gift from God to help you and your family in that time. So, all right. So as you move on to college, where did you go to school, and what was your what were your plans for school?
I went to community college my first couple of years. And so I stayed at home around where I grew up, to stay with my family. And then I went on to Columbia College in Columbia, Missouri. When I got to college, I had figured out that, to pursue art therapy, which is a form of counseling. And I had seen that that art in my grief had it had healed different parts, or it helped me process what hurt so much and the reality of the loss. And so when I heard about this, and also I'm an artist and had seen how it worked, I was that is what I want. That's what I desire. Just to walk with others and their pain and their hurt, to see that they can still move on and honor that person. And so that's what I started to. I started pursuing art and psychology And so I graduated. After I graduated, I took like a year and a half to like work and, prepare for my test for grad school, did all these applications for grad school, and I got in. And so I guess that's kind of what leads me to missions is like,
Sure.
got in, I'm like finally where I want to be. I wanted to do a mission trip is what really led me down to Louisiana.
You have all these plans, right? Like we all do. But how did you decide? Like, how did that shift? And all of a sudden you chose or discovered Family Missions Company to do a mission trip. Explain that to us.
When I was in college, I was just looking up like mission trips and just seeing people like on social media, like going on mission trips. And I don't know, it was attractive to me. And I kept on like looking at it. And I remember even looking at Family Missions website, but just be like, oh, not right now. Like, I don't have the money. I'm a college kid. Like, I could barely, I was eating ramen. So yeah, I think after I had come back and realized it's time, like, this is what I want to do. And so I had contacted a missionary who I had known through my life. And she was with Family Missions Company. Her husband and her invited me to come down to Louisiana because I said, I want to do a long mission trip right before I go to grad school. And they said, well, there's a couple week option, and then you can come down to Louisiana and hang out with us. And so for some reason I said yes. I drove down to Louisiana one day, and her husband and her walked me through relationship identity mission, share their testimonies. And I was living alongside this community and missionaries. And I was just like, who are these people? And yeah, I don't know. I think I saw a great joy in them that I haven't seen very many times in my life. We're just being like, what's your story? What's your testimony? Like, it used to be that way, and then you met Jesus, now you're this way. Like, I was just like, I don't know. I just was like amazed by them and that they left everything and their families and their friends, sold everything and for the sake of the gospel. Wow. And within the first couple of days I was in Louisiana, I go, all right, why am I down here? Like, I know it's more than just like, oh, summer missions before I go to grad school. And so I just was asking like, all right, Lord, like, I don't know why I'm here, but open my eyes and my heart to what you have for me here. And I went on a mission trip that summer to Calcutta, India, and more single missionaries there, and worked with missionaries of charity. And I saw a great poverty I've never seen in my life. And yeah, I think that there was just so much that happened on that trip. When I encountered the poor and like was holding their hands, like even though I didn't speak their language or like know what they were saying, just like even that we can communicate in this way, like with holding hands and like with our eyes, that there were just a lot of stirring in my heart. And as I talked to the missionaries and as I continued to serve those 2 weeks, and I came back to Louisiana after the mission trip, and I was silent for a little bit. I'm just like, I'm sad they got to grad school. But eventually I shared with other missionaries just, what was stirring, and just like, I think God is calling me to be a missionary. I went to go see my family a couple of weeks after I went to Calcutta, and I was just like bawling my eyes out because I'm like, oh, that means I have to like give up my family. Like, I love my family. And like, what if I want this? Like, what if I want this life? And I don't know. They're just such a like beautiful like grace and the surrender that like I had like never had so much peace. That was missions for me. And that was like my call to missions.
If you could share with me one time that you really remember someone or a very specific event that comes to you right away when you think of Calcutta.
I just remember the kids kind of jumping up at us, like along like these railroad tracks. They were just like running after us, just to like touch our hand. And I think that's like something I vividly remember. And then I remember little particular women who I had been going to see for like 2 weeks a few times. And so by the end of that time, her eyes would light up whenever I like would come and like sit with her. It's like always hard for me to explain. Like it's uncomfortable, like sitting in someone's poverty and like sitting with people when you can't talk to them. Like they don't know what I'm saying. It's just so uncomfortable. But I don't know. There was just like while I was sitting with her and just like holding her hand or painting their nails, they're just a beautiful joy.
Teresa, everybody obviously encounters struggles, and could you just share with us what was your hardest surrender or struggle in order to pursue a missionary life?
I think one of the things that I'm thinking of, just that like the unknown of like, you know, like safety and security, like if I have a job and if like I have everything figured out. Also, what does it mean to like give my life to God? Like, is he gonna like ask me to like give up everything? Yeah. Or just, I think a huge part was my family. I love my family and from a great family. And I think, they're just a gift. And so I think I think I knew that like I would be losing, like missing different events, and I think because of like what my family has lost and like been through together, like they're just like that much more special to me. And so and I think that's what is just like because of the peace and because of like my call to be a missionary, and that like I knew that like actually this is the best thing for my family where I can be.
It's obvious that your family is incredibly important to you. And I was kind of thinking about when you're in Calcutta and how Mother Teresa started her order there. What was that like being in Calcutta? And obviously I'm assuming you know of Mother Teresa and serving there where she started her work. What did you have any reflections or thoughts upon that?
One of the days during the mission trip, we went on a pilgrimage, and it was a pilgrimage of like kind of backtracking of like Mother Teresa's life and God's like invitation for her and just her total surrender in her life. Even being in one of the chapels, very spirit filled the whole trip. Walk in those streets and see what she saw and to see like what she gave up, but really what she loves so much.
Was
a huge gift. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Powerful. Thank you. So when you're back, right, you've left Calcutta and you're back home and what was the next step like for you after you returned home?
I came back different. I think that was definitely a place where my parents' faith or my family's faith became my faith because of what I had seen and because of my relationship with the Lord. And so I just kept on walking in it and talking to the Lord about it, about what was happening in my heart, and was seeking counsel. And it wasn't like, I think it was 3 weeks later that I had finally made the decision that God was calling me to this. And I think, you know, in my head, in my mind, like what makes sense, like what is logical, like, I don't know, I just went to college and I got this degree and I've been working and I just got to grad school and it was so expensive. Like, I think all that was like out the window when I received so much love and like people like need to know about this love. They like need to know about Jesus. And I think with like art therapy, it was just like, I wanted to like journey and walk with people who were like hurting and broken. So like they would like be healed in different ways, or like that they could like function and live their life and like I'd experienced Jesus healing me, the healing that Jesus offers, and that like, I know about this. Like, I have to share this.
What are you currently doing right now at Family Missions Company?
The discipleship program that I went through, the internship, is what it is here. I'm actually now overseeing it. I'm receiving new people to go through the discipleship program. And so I journey and walk with them.
Okay.
And I'm also helping our formation for new missionaries. So I'm helping help disciple the new missionaries coming. When I left Haiti, like it was Jesus who's like, go home. He has me right here, right now, and has given me different opportunities to be formed and to help form the new missionaries based on what I saw, what I received when I was out in the field.
I want to pick up in terms of you did some missionary work in Haiti. What was that like? So that was your second foreign mission trip. What was your experience like in Haiti as a missionary?
I served in Haiti for a little over 2 years. It's beautiful. It's like all green, these mountains, and we lived in a small little town about 5 hours away from the capital. I remember there was like sheep going down the street and donkeys, and I was like, what is my life? Like, this is crazy. I couldn't understand what people were saying. So I learned Haitian Creole. And so that's the language that they speak. And so that took a long time.
Can you share with us one of the most joyful moments that you had in Haiti?
The joys was just like my everyday life, was like walking to the market and encountering like the kids who had run after me, or just like passing by like my friends, or like passing by like someone that we go see on home visits, and to like give them a hug. A great joy was that like our cook who worked in our kitchen, she was like, go dance with her, hang out, sit on the steps and bother her. Like, she was our mom. And we have a friend, and his name was Attache, and he became like a brother. And then we had other people throughout our lives. One of them is, her name's Bea, and she helps run a nursing home that we have down there. Sometimes when I was like having a hard day, we go visit. We called her our Haitian grandma, and we randomly found her my first year from a kid, and it was his grandma, and she just loved us a lot. And so throughout my time there, like, we'd celebrate birthdays with her, and every year she was always like turning 98. We're like, I thought you were 98 last year.
If you could, what would you say to someone? Like, if there's someone who's watching right now and they're not sure if they're being called to missionary life, or they're like, I don't know how you do this. Like, what would be your word to them to encourage them?
I think there was always a fear for me that I wasn't cut out for this life, that it was like, that's for people up here, and that's so hard. Leaving everything and going to a different country and serving in community. We just have to walk in it. I always think of, and I feel like God does this a lot with me. It's just like, kind of how like Peter had to step out of the boat, that like Jesus like, come out, and so he came, and he walked on water. Yeah. And I think that's what I learned during my missionary experiences.
Looking at it now, like, obviously Family Missions has been incredibly helpful for you, but what has been the greatest way that they've come around you and supported you and helped you with this transition into missionary life?
Yeah, I think what's been a huge gift is the community. I think in Haiti, I was blessed to serve with great friends, but people who challenged me and also desired to be a saint, a missionary saint, and the witness of so many missionaries that have gone before me or that are part of FMC was like their witness of like, as they live into the missionary, or how God is calling them to be. Like, it's a huge witness for me and lifts me up.
What do you see yourself doing in the future? Or what do you feel God's stirring in you?
I think there's a constant, discernment. when following the Lord and doing his will. And yeah, I'm a single missionary. And so, I mean, one day I hope to be married and desire to like continue to serve the new missionaries who are coming in and serve the poor. And my future is unknown, but what is always encouraging to me is that like it's been such an adventure since I started following the Lord. And like even with Haiti, it was just like after I prayed that prayer and like, and the Mets even before that, like Haiti became my home, but like Jesus called me home, like to the States. And so if that's the case, then like it's like being here is the best thing. And like wherever that leads me is like so much greater.
Fantastic. So Teresa, obviously there's been some struggles and some things that you've had to give up being a missionary. Can you share with us something that was very hard for you to surrender?
Yeah, I wasn't around to like be in relationship the way I would have been if I would have been home. And so there are losses, and it was like something that I had to like wrestle with, I think, with the Lord. And I've missed out. I have lost, but like yet I've gained so much more. And it's been like even for not being present with my family or at home, that like, yeah, like where he had me and like in Haiti and with the poor, that like the Lord was in it and like did so much more even for my family or for those different situations that like, you know, those impossible family situations that like, because of my sacrifices, not like I did it, but like God did it.
Yeah.
I was just maybe sweating for he like mercy for my family and for friends and for like those impossible situations. I've seen like him be faithful to. It's been worth it. Like it's like all the sacrifices. And I think my concern of like, am I going to be a different person, or like, am I giving up parts of myself? But yeah, I sure hope that like I'm becoming a different person. That's like how I feel, because less of me and more of him, that like as I continue to walk and continue to struggle, and like I'm desired to be like different and to be who he's calling me to be. So
that's beautiful. Teresa, thank you so much for your time together and sharing your story and your inspirational walk with the Lord. And what we like to say here and when we close out the episodes is to connect in Christ.
Connect in Christ.
Thanks so much. You take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Praying you'll join us for our next episode. I'm your host, Kevin Kuster. This is Mission Connect, brought to you by Shalom World and Family Missions Company.
problems, worries, sadness? Are you seeking solutions? Bible says, do not be anxious about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Choose faith over fear.